Coming up on Network Africa, armed men kidnap a unknown number of pupils and teachers from a primary school in Nigeria's Kaduna State. Former Ethiopian Deputy Chief of Mission at the Embassy in Washington says war and conflict is everywhere in the Horn of African nation. Plus, Somalia receives its first batch of Oxford AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccine under the COVAX scheme. Hello and welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Layo Adegoke. We begin the program with stories and happenings that made headlines over the weekend.
Africa reached the somber milestone of 4 million COVID-19 cases on Saturday, while eagerly awaiting a crucial boost to its life-saving vaccination campaigns through COVAX. Latest data from the Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Africa CDC, show the total number of confirmed coronavirus cases had surpassed 4 million as of Saturday on the African continent, since the first case was reported there in February 2020. The Africa CDC says the pandemic has since claimed 107,001 lives on the continent. Over the weekend, Egypt announced that around 250,000 Egyptian citizens had signed up for COVID-19 vaccine since the country expanded its vaccination rollout to include elderly people and people with comorbid conditions. Africa COVID-19 cases top 4 million amid acute vaccine shortages. With queues growing longer daily, the local government has assured citizens of enough supply for those who've registered. Tunisia on Saturday began vaccinating health workers as part of a larger vaccination campaign that targets nearly 50% of the population, health officials said. The country received 30,000 doses of Russia's Sputnik V vaccine on Wednesday, March 10th, which Health Minister Fauzi Mahdi said would be used to vaccinate medical staff. Gabon received the first batch of donated COVID-19 vaccines from China, arriving in the Gabonese capital of Libreville on Friday. Gabonese Prime Minister, Foreign Minister, Health Minister, and Chinese Ambassador attended the handover ceremony. Away from COVID-19, thousands of Algerians took to the streets of the capital to demand political reform, rejecting an announcement by Algerian president to hold early legislative elections on June 12. Protesters say they will refuse to vote in the upcoming elections held under a political elite they reject. In Côte d'Ivoire, the body of Prime Minister Ahmed Bakayoko landed in Abidjan's International Airport on Saturday from Germany, where an experimental treatment for cancer failed to save his life. Bakayoko was the country's second prime minister to die in 8 months, and his passing left a huge mark on the nation that perceived him as the natural successor to President Alassane Ouattara.
All to our major stories for today. Bandits have again attacked another school in Kaduna State here in Nigeria. This time, a primary school in Benin Gwari local government area of the state, abducting pupils and teachers. According to a statement by the State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Arunwa, which confirmed the attack, the state government is currently obtaining details on the actual number of pupils and teachers reported to have been kidnapped and will issue a comprehensive statement as soon as possible. Last week, Government Science Secondary School Ikara in Ikara local government area was attacked. Meanwhile, 39 abducted students of the College of Forestry, Afaka, were also kidnapped on Friday and are still in captivity as security agencies ramp up efforts to rescue them. The Nigerian Foreign Affairs Ministry has hosted the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, in the nation's capital, Abuja. The Director General, in her address, says the WTO would support Nigeria with capacity building and entrepreneurial products, especially at a time when the country has to diversify from oil. She adds that the organization would work with her international organizations such as the IMF and the World Bank to help Nigeria solve its deficits as it affects infrastructure. Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, who is making her first visit to Nigeria since she assumed office as the DG of WTO, says she feels excited about her homecoming. She adds that the WTO is also set to support job creation among youths and encourage women entrepreneurs. She says the WTO is already negotiating several agreements on e-commerce.
To this, I say it and I will not stop saying it. Without all of you and without the support of ordinary Nigerians, especially the young people who were on the social media all the time encouraging me, I wouldn't have been able to make it because it was a very tough competition with 8 of us at the start from 8 different countries over a period of more than 6 months, very grueling. So it needed a lot of encouragement. Of course, I also want to seize the opportunity to thank my family because without them, I would also not have been able to make it. So we thank God for everything and for seeing us through this occasion. They say that the WTO General Council, they've made history. So I'm not the one that made history, but they made history by electing the first woman in 73 years.
Well, Dr. Okonjo-Iweala has arrived at the State House in Abuja and is meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari at this time. Moving on to other stories, still in Nigeria, suspects involved in a case of alleged deprivation of liberty, assault and attempted murder of 3 children at 33 area in Onitsha have been paraded by police in Anambra State. The Anambra State Commissioner of Police, Mr. Monday Koyas, represented by the Police Public Relations Officer, says one of the major accomplices, a former staff of the Welfare Department at Ihiala local government area, has been declared wanted.
In mid-February, police operatives attached to 33 police station in Kwele, Ezunaka, Anambra State, working with a local vigilante group, raided the property of a self-acclaimed pastor, Rejoice Raymond, and her 80-year-old mother, following intelligent reports of suspicious criminal activities. Their discovery is indeed shocking. In the building are 3 toddlers confined and lying helplessly in different rooms with varying degrees of injuries, one of them with a fractured hand. The suspects were immediately arrested and children taken into custody for immediate medical attention. It's been several weeks since that incident, and the children are back at the Anambra State Police Command headquarters, Amobia, looking better, accompanied by the State Commissioner for Women Affairs, Ndidi Mezue. Authorities at the police command give an update on the incident.
A preliminary investigation so far revealed that the suspect, Madam Rejoice, allegedly bought the 3 children at the rate of 3,050,000 naira from a woman called Madam Sabina Izora, who is a social welfare worker, who allegedly sold the children, is still at large.
The injuries inflicted on their bodies, owing to physical and emotional torture, is still obvious as the children continue to recuperate in custody of the state government. They recount their experience under the former caregiver.
Who did this to you?
This woman.
Who?
Pastor.
Pastor who?
Chimeleze.
Can you point her? Go and point her.
No, beat me. She will throw me in the step, push me in the gutter. A pastor beat me.
Who?
Pastor Chimelese.
Chimelese who?
See, I'm here. You came room nice with me.
What did you do to her?
I know then.
The Ministry of Women and Children Affairs Anambra State will not relent in taking care of these lovely children while the case is being investigated. And I pray as they go on investigating the matter, let the law take its course.
Not the one that but treat them.
Rejoice Raymond continues to deny inflicting any wound on the children as the police display some of the exhibits recovered from the home of the suspect.
Rather grim story there, but moving away from Nigeria, former diplomat Behane Kidane Mariam, who resigned last week as the deputy chief of mission at the Ethiopian embassy in Washington, he says war and conflict is everywhere in the Horn of Africa nation and that no media was covering it. While speaking to BBC Newsday without giving evidence, he says that there are ongoing conflicts in Oromia and Beni Shangol, Metekele regions that were underreported. The former diplomat urges the U.S. to speak out more on the Tigray conflict because, according to him, a lot of people are dying. In his resignation, Mr. Behane had accused Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed of leading the country down a dark path toward destruction and disintegration. The Ethiopian government, however, denies that its troops committed any atrocities in Tigray. Meanwhile, the medical charity MSF says soldiers in the Ethiopian region of Tigray have launched a deliberate and widespread attack on healthcare facilities. The group says it has visited more than 100 medical sites since December and found that only 13 functioned normally. MSF observers in Tigray say most health centers were looted or vandalized and many remain occupied by soldiers, and ambulances seized by armed groups were later used to transport goods. MSF's Director General Oliver Ben said the attacks have had a devastating effect on the people of Tigray, and according to international humanitarian law, health facilities and staff should be protected during armed conflict. Well, Somalia has received 300,000 doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccine under the COVAX scheme. It's the first batch the country has received so far. The Health Ministry says people at highest risk of contracting the virus will be the first to receive the vaccines. That includes frontline workers, the elderly, and those with chronic health conditions. The country eventually expects to receive a total of 1.2 million doses of vaccines. At least 20% of its population is expected to be vaccinated from the COVAX facility. Somalia has reported over 9,000 cases of infections and 367 deaths and is currently experiencing a new wave of the pandemic. Well, over in Uganda, President Yoweri Museveni says he is still looking to which of the vaccines he would use. This is days after his government kicked off mass vaccination against COVID-19 using the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. Presidents across the continent have been publicly receiving the jabs to counter skepticism about the safety and efficacy of the vaccine. In a televised address on Sunday night, President Museveni said he had not yet been vaccinated because he is quite careful and well protected by the system as his official residence. He also said the First Lady, Janet Museveni, had not been vaccinated. Health Minister Jane Akeng last month denied media reports that the president and his inner circle had been secretly vaccinated before the country formally received vaccines. Uganda plans to vaccinate 49.6% of its population in a phased manner. It received 864 vaccine doses from the COVAX scheme early this month and expects an additional supply of 2.68 million doses in June. Still ahead on the program. Nigeria Afrobeat stars Burna Boy and Wizkid both bag awards at the 2021 Grammys. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the program. Kenya has announced the hike in fuel prices in its latest adjustment by the energy regulator. The price of fuel in the country is determined by a government authority which sets the maximum prices of each type of fuel. In computing the retail price, the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority includes factors such as the landed cost of the fuel, when it was shipped into the country, the distributors and marketers' profit margin, and a number of taxes. Now, at the current cost of 122.81 shillings per litre of petrol in Nairobi, the landed cost is almost 50 shillings, with most of the other costs taken up by taxes and other levies. In the light of this, some Kenyans have been criticizing the government for this high amount of taxes. High fuel costs contribute to a higher cost of living in the country as the economy relies largely on diesel for power generation and transport. Well, Ugandan politician and former presidential candidate Robert Kyagulanyi, popularly known as Bobi Wine, has been arrested in the capital, Kampala. He was leading a team of members of parliament from his party, the National Unity Platform, in a protest against arrests and disappearances of supporters in the period leading up to, during, and after the highly contested January election. Security forces fired tear gas to disperse the crowd that was marching with the politicians. In a virtual address, Bobi Wine called on his supporters to use peaceful means to protest against the election results, which he continues to claim were rigged, and to demand that security forces produce their missing colleagues. His arrest from a campaign rally in November kicked off 2 days of protests, during which over 50 people died. UN High Commissioner for Refugees Filippo Grandi has visited Bidi-Bidi, Africa's largest refugee settlement, to reaffirm the agency's commitment to Uganda's inclusive refugee response. Uganda's Bidi-Bidi settlement is home to over 235,000 refugees from South Sudan. It is Africa's largest refugee settlement, with humanitarian and development support for both refugees and the host community.
At the Twajiji Primary School, UN High Commissioner for Refugees Filippo Grandi surveys new classrooms and teachers' accommodation built with contributions from the German Development Bank KfW. UNHCR helps with the daily running of the school and paying the teachers' salaries.
What is the main thing that you need here to improve the education of the children?
Mr. Grandi meets with Agnes Batio, who supervises a team of construction workers from the refugee and host communities. She is a refugee from South Sudan. Agnes learned construction in Bidi-Bidi, and the skill has helped her support her 3 children.
I took interest just because when I was in Sudan, I saw a lady also participating in building and construction. So I took interest. I also need to be like her. I know women have power to do everything. That's why I take my interest, because there are not many women who are doing this.
We visited a building site where refugees and members of the local community, young men and women, are trained in construction work, which is useful here, and for the South Sudanese will be useful also when they return home. And I can give you many examples. The challenges are big. There is a challenge of insufficient education facilities, although of course we're very grateful to the government for hosting refugees in Ugandan facilities. But because of that, more support needs to be given to the state and to local authorities to expand education facilities.
Driving through Bidi-Bidi and Yumbe town, the UNHCR boss also sees hundreds of electric poles and cables, evidence of a project already underway to connect the settlement to the national grid. Funded by Norway and implemented by Uganda's Rural Electrification Agency, this initiative is part of a broader collaboration between the Norwegian Agency for Development Cooperation, GIZ, and the World Bank to extend the national grid to refugee hosting areas. When the BDBD electric grid goes live, UNHCR is planning to support last-mile connection for schools, health centers, and markets.
Uganda has demonstrated exceptional generosity and hospitality, including in these difficult times of COVID, where, of course, movement of people is a very risky situation, but still hospitality has continued, but livelihoods have decreased because of lack of movement, because of less economic activity, so more help is needed also in that respect.
Very nice.
Uganda hosts more than 1.4 million refugees, with the vast majority living in rural settlements. Since the launch of the Comprehensive Refugee Response Framework in 2017, the government has included refugees in the national development plans and endorsed sector plans to improve delivery of social services in refugee hosting districts like education, health, water and environment, as well as job creation.
Late Zulu king Goodwill Zwelithini is to be buried in a private ceremony on Wednesday, followed by a memorial on Thursday. His cousin, Zulu traditional leader Mangosuthu Buthelezi, announced the arrangements, saying only a select group of men would attend the burial as wanted by the late king. In Sunday's announcement, the royal family agreed to grant his wish to be buried at night and only by men, and all is expected to happen in private. Well, let's head now to Benin Republic to see one of Guillaume Legros's painting. He is also known as Sepe, whose project is to spray paint two giant interlaced hands. Now, the aim of his project, which started in 2019 at the Champs-Élysées in Paris, is to create a human chain of hands around the globe, which will cross borders in order to carry out the universal message dedicated to friendship and togetherness.
On a beach that was once one of Africa's main slave trade hubs, a giant hand appears to be slipping into the ocean. Another one is pulling it back. This is one of two frescoes from French land artist Sepe to appear in West Africa's Benin Republic. Armed with a spray gun and biodegradable paint, his Beyond Walls project is trying to create a chain of human hands across the globe. In Benin, he chose two locations marked by slavery. One was the beach at the former slave trade hub of Ouda, and the other was Ganvier, where populations fleeing slave trade raids found shelter. This is the 10th country targeted by Sepe. But though the hands look similar across the world, each location has an impact on how they are interpreted. The project began in 2019 with a line of hands leading to the Eiffel Tower and other locations, having included Germany, Italy and Switzerland, as well as hands leading to the Martyrs Monument in Burkina Faso's Ouagadougou and in the midst of a shanty town in Cape Town. In total, over the past 2 years, Sepe has visited 3 continents and painted 37 pairs of hands with the aim of spreading a message of friendship and of peace.
And finally, on the program, Nigerian Afrobeat sensations Wizkid and Burna Boy have both won the coveted Grammy Prize at the 63rd Grammy Awards. Burna Boy, the self-professed African giant, carted away the prize for the Best Global Music category with his Twice as Tall album. Burna Boy became second-time lucky after missing the prize the previous year to veteran multiple Grammy winner Angelique Kidjo. Wizkid picked up the prize for his collaboration with American singer Beyoncé and her daughter Blue Ivy for the track Brown Skin Girl in the Best Music Video Brown Skin Girl video. Bested fellow nominees Future with Drake, Anderson .Paak, Harry Styles and Woodkid. Both acts now join Nigerian drummer Sikiru Adepoju in the class of Nigerian musicians with Grammy Awards after Adepoju earned one as a part of Mickey Hart's group Planet Drum, whose title album won the Grammy Award for Best Contemporary World Music Album in 1991. And that's it on the program for today. Thank you for watching. I'm Layo Adegoke.